Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, a podcast presented by News Talk 1540 KXCL. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane. Randy Kraayenbrink, Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk about mostly one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that even though we are the official basketball show for 1540 KXCL, our comments may not reflect our friends over at UNI. However, Randy is a former player. I have this fancy Panther polo on, so this is as official as it's going to get. We want to let you know that this show can't be found on KXCL as well during their morning show, and then also on their website, with audio versions also found on KXCL's website and then Apple Podcasts as well. So, Randy, Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat. Favorite Christmas tradition that you look forward to each year?
Wow. Actually, it would be going to Christmas Eve service at church.
Okay.
That's what it would be. Obviously, the last year kind of disturbed a little bit of that, but just getting back to that going back to Christmas Eve service and lighting the candles and standing there and singing, and yeah.
Okay. So does the entire family go, or just you and Marla, or?
Yep. We tried to do it as a family.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So
how about you, Chuck?
Oh, we don't have any big traditions as much as it is. It's different when you have young kids at the house. When it was just Karen and me years ago, it's one thing, but when you have kids at the house that are super excited about opening things, our boys, they're 7 years old now. They're at the very cutting, like the very, 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 very edge of still believing in Santa. They're starting to think but then, but they still believe enough that, they still believe enough. So it's still fun to see Christmas through their perspective. So,
absolutely.
Looking forward to it. So, but as always, we have a great show for everyone this week. Former player and current Upper Iowa coach, Brooks McKowen, is going to join us. After that, we have our Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week, and then finishing off with a Financial Architect's Quote of the Week. Let's get started. Randy, we are honored to have joining us today. Former player, drum roll, please. Brooks, he goes all out with these drum rolls. This is amazing. So, Brooks McKowen, thanks for joining us, Brooks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be back.
So, welcome back. It's always great to have you on. But first things first, congrats on having a great season so far. What's exciting you the most with your 12-1 team this year?
Oh, it's a good bunch of guys. We've got a bunch of returners back that have played for us for a bunch of years now. We're playing 8-9 guys, and most of them are in their third year of college basketball. We've got one in his sixth year of college basketball because of the COVID rules. There are a ton of Iowa kids. They play so well together and they share the ball so well together. We got a bunch of different weapons, which makes us tough to prep for. So it's a good bunch of guys. They do it the right way. They play the right way. So it's a fun brand of basketball, and it's been exciting so far this year.
Well, this is the first time you've ever had to deal with these super seniors, right? So when you talked to them about coming back for another year, was there ever a question if they wanted to come back? It would be fun to play, but I really don't feel like taking classes again for another year. Or was it no question, I want to play again, coach?
The Williams kid out of Mason City is going to finish his master's this year. He had started it last year already. So when we had the conversation with him, it was a pretty quick, yes, I'm coming back. I want to chase a championship. Schmaltz kid was the same way. We had talked a little bit before the season last year, before they decided if they could come back from COVID or not. And he was all in as well. So it wasn't really much of a question. It'll be interesting to see how it pans forward, though, with some of the underclassmen as they get that fifth-year choice, if some of them want to come back or not. But these guys were all in. They love it here. They've had great careers for us, and they wanted to come back and chase some things that we've been kind of short of. We've been right there and just never quite got to it. So they wanted another shot at it.
Awesome.
I think a good point you bring up is like the underclassmen who maybe thought they were going to be, the starter. They were going to be the person this year that was going to step in, and they maybe have to put that on the back burner and then decide, like you said, am I going to come back another year or not? have you had that conversation with some of those kids, and are they possibly coming back as well?
Yeah, we've talked to them all about it. The one thing I told them all is if they do come back and they take that 5th year, that they need to work towards their masters. I think that's a benefit they can have, is, you know, to set themselves up and to get started on that masters, or even finish it. If they do it the right way here, they could get most of it done. So we've had those conversations, and luckily we got high character kids. They want to win. They understand it. So, you know, if they didn't quite get the playing time they thought they would this year, they get it, and they're still working hard, and they're ready to go for next year, hopefully. You know, we still believe them, and we've had those conversations that we still have a plan for them. We have a couple guys this year that aren't playing that actually played last year for us. And it's one of those things where we had a transfer come in, we had a guy that was sitting out last year, and they could have handled it in a completely different way, but they're still bought in. They're the first guys off the bench, talking to everybody on the court, letting them know what they're missing. So we've got an extremely good team, top to bottom, which is awesome, and is the reason we're having success.
Well, your offense is amazing. I mean, you guys are scoring tons of points a game. You know, and just to put this in perspective, I'm curious on your take on present day coaching and recruiting, where the Upper Iowa team in 2011 or so, you had about like 375 or so 3-pointers for the season. Now you take about 375 3-pointers per game. How has recruiting and coaching changed over the years for you because of this, like, Steph Curry phenomenon?
Well, we've always kind of chucked it. That's kind of the way I like to play when I was younger. And we've always kind of had that style. We've always played a spaced out, 4 out, kind of 1 in. And now we even go 5 out a lot of times with our bigs because they can shoot it. But we've always been up tempo, fast paced, chuck that thing up there. Maybe I just have some more shooters now that I've been recruiting longer. We've got a few more shooters on our team. The small kid actually just hit 300 threes in his career last weekend. And Jarice Williams is going to get it. He's only 2 away from it. So we take a lot of threes on our team. I don't know if it's easy to get bigs here all the time because of that, but we like to get down the court pretty quick and chuck it up there.
I bet you Randy wishes he can go back in time and play for you right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's better than a turnover. Shoot it at the hoop.
I always say, you know, chuck it up there before you turn it over.
So, well, you said you kind of played this similar style your whole career. And so in high school, your senior season, you averaged like this crazy number of 35 points a game, 35.8 for those who are counting, but also 11 rebounds. You were Wapsie Valley Community High School, and then you were named Iowa's Mr. Basketball in 2003. Very similar to Randy. Randy liked to chuck the ball up there a little bit, and I'm curious, between you and Randy, did you guys average or even get a single assist during your senior season?
I had a few. Quite a few, actually. I had a lot of good players around me, too. We scored a lot of points. Is the reason teams couldn't double me or triple me, because we had guys just standing on the 3-point line hoping I would pass at one time.
I would say I maybe averaged 1 a game, maybe.
So, but more seriously, though, 38 points a game is amazing. But what sort of pressure does that put on somebody when they become an incoming freshman at UNI?
I mean, it does. I came from a coaching family, though, so I get it. You know, my dad is a coach. My brother's a coach. My sister was a coach. We don't really know anything other than basketball, I guess. But I came from that. So I knew my role would change when I got to college. And we have that conversation with players all the time. You know, you're usually the superstar on your high school team. When you get to college, your role is going to change a little bit, especially when you're younger, and it may mature into more of a scoring role or a different role. But I went into a system that was a slow it down pace, run a bunch of sets. We pounded it inside quite a bit. And I knew my role would change going there, but I believed in the staff that I played for and the players I played with. So I knew I wasn't going to be putting up 30 plus points a game by any means. But we won the way we did it. So we obviously were doing something right.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. And I think that's one thing that high school kids especially need to realize when they do get recruited by any program. I don't care if it's any division, NAIA, NCAA, wherever it is, that they need to be able to adjust that. And it's kind of cool to hear that you said you had that conversation with the parents as well as the student athlete coming in, that, you know, it's not going to be all about you when you get to Upper Iowa.
Yeah. And we, obviously we got to recruit kids and we sell them. And, I'm as honest about it as about anybody out there to them. We've got a plan for kids and we bring them in because we believe they can be good. And there's something we see in them that we believe they can do. And that's what we tell them, if we believe they're going to be a scoring guard, or if we believe they're going to be a point guard, or if this is going to be their role, we try to tell them what we believe they're going to be best at in college and how they fit our program. Now, if you look at our stats, we've got a lot of guys scoring a lot of points. So there's definitely an opportunity to get the points up there and get your chucks up. I've never yelled at anybody for taking a shot. So there's definitely some opportunity out there still in my system.
Well,
I played in college than I coach now.
Yeah.
Well, you went from being one of the best scorers in high school to then becoming one of the best assist man at Northern Iowa. What was that conversation like during spring or summer before your senior year when Jake tells you, hey, I'm going to depend on you as a point guard leader this year?
A little bit. We changed our style that year. We weren't as slow paced and walking it up and running as many sets as we did. We kind of got up and down and changed the tempo a little bit of the game. We just had some different players that year. And, my role changed with the minutes I was in the game and the amount the ball was in my hands to create. We had that conversation that summer, and they told me that they needed me to work on a couple of things because that was going to be my role. So it definitely had that conversation when he took over with the job.
Well, your breakout season was really during that 1 year that you played with Jake. So is it fair to say that Coach Mack really held you back? You would probably be in the NBA right now if Coach Mack didn't hold you back on the bench, right?
I tell him that every time I see him. So.
But on a more serious level, though, you played 3 years with Mac. As far as the transition to playing with Jake, you mentioned like some playing differences, some style on the court. What are some other things on the court and off the court that were different between Mac and Jake?
There wasn't a lot of difference at the time. They were pretty close to each other when Jake was his head assistant. When I was going through the system, Mac relied on Jake a lot from what we could tell as players. And obviously his opinion mattered and he did a lot of coaching with us. When it comes to him taking over as the head coach, personalities are just different. Jake is a pretty laid back guy and was a more laid back coach where Matt gets pretty fiery and gets into the things quite a bit. So that would be maybe the main difference I saw. But for the most part, they treated us so well as players and took care of us and cared about us so much, on and off the court. They were generally, good people to us. And I couldn't have played for anybody better than those guys.
Well, I don't know if it was your idea or his idea, but what led to the conversation between you and Jake about being on the coaching staff later?
That's something I always wanted to do. I kind of talked to those guys about that, even in the recruiting process when I was in high school. That I wanted to go and possibly be a college coach someday. That was kind of my goal. So that was a conversation I had with them. And then when the season got over, there was some opportunities to either go possibly play overseas or jump right into the coaching aspect of it. And I knew I wanted to be a coach. My goal was to be a head coach someday. And I knew the quickest route to that would be to start coaching right away. So fortunately for me, John Little at the time was our GA and decided he wanted to go play. So he jumped back into the playing game and a spot opened up where I could jump on staff and get right to work.
So a question for you. So we're obviously in the, just got done with the Thanksgiving season. Now we're headed into the Christmas season. So when the McKowen family gets together, do you all bring like 5 offensive plays and you sit around the table and you draw them up and say, that's a good one or that's not? Or how does that go around the Christmas table?
There usually ends up being a basketball game on TV, whether it's one of mine or John's or my dad's. And there's that's usually awesome. Some fun of it and some talk back and forth. But we've all got so many kids now, half the time we're chasing them around too. So we don't have a whole lot of time to discuss plays and stuff. But there's definitely a lot of basketball conversations in our family.
Is there someone in your family that is a defensive guru that you guys kind of like argue with, or are all of you kind of offensive guys?
John is the defensive guy. Okay. He's got a defense that he plays that's been pretty good for him, and at Kennedy and at some other schools he's been at. He gets on me all the time about my defense not being good enough. into them that if our offense is good and we score more points than them, it doesn't matter what our defense does.
Well, in 2009, 2010, you and I advanced to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. And that's actually the last time you and I has made the Sweet 16. And that is also the last time you were on the coaching staff. So one could say that the reason why they haven't made the Sweet 16, well, I don't know. There's a connection there or not. But here's the real question for you, though, is that, Ali hits the big shot. Give us the play-by-play of where you were on the bench and how you celebrated once that shot was hit.
Man, I don't even know if I remember. I'm pretty sure I was sitting by Coach Johnson, who's at Minnesota now. I'm pretty sure I was sitting by him, and we were just happy we got the ball across half court finally. They turned up the heat on us, and we could not get the ball across half court, and that clock was moving as slow as it could possibly move. And when it got thrown to him, a lot of people say that they were like, no, don't shoot it. We all wanted him to shoot it because we didn't want to turn it over again. So we were all sitting there yelling, shoot the dang thing. It hit so many of those shots that year for us that when he let go of that, we knew it was going to go in. And man, I don't remember the celebration afterwards. It was pretty much a blur watching everybody run around and go crazy in that place after the fact.
Well, one of the guys that were also on the team was a redshirt freshman by the name of Mark Sonnen, right? And what do you remember about Mark then? And what excites you most about seeing one of your former players get into the coaching world?
Oh, that's awesome. He's such a good guy, and he'll do a great job as a coach. And he hasn't changed one bit. When I see him, I saw him this summer again, and that kid hasn't changed one bit from when he was a redshirt freshman, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But no, it's awesome to see him get back on their staff and be back a part of that program. He'll be a good coach if that's what he continues to do.
Well, it's a great connection between you and him, and even Randy in there too, because you guys are just great offensive shooters, right? And so it's always fun seeing Mark out there doing his thing.
Oh yeah.
So, well, what's one piece of coaching advice that Jake gave to you then when you were on the coaching staff that you still use today?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, I learned a lot from him, being on that staff, working with him and working closely to Coach Green and PJ Hogan and, Chris Foster and, just the time they put in and the amount of work you do behind the scenes to making sure you're always prepared, always being there, trying to treat, guys the way that I wanted to be treated when I was an assistant. They treated me so well as a GA and they didn't have to do that. And, so I try to do the same thing with my staff. And try to grow them as people and grow them as coaches. But, just being prepared, just being prepared every day and being prepared for every game and trying to put our guys in the right positions to be successful.
Well, since you brought some names up, I'm curious. I don't know if, Truman State, I think, was where Foster was at. And I think Dubuque, what's that? I'm sorry.
He's at Drury now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Do you ever play teams like let's see, like Drury or Truman State or Dubuque or there's some teams in Minnesota, I think that's coming to me, where like former UNI players have coached. Do you ever play any of those teams during the season, and what's that like?
Yeah, we played Foster when he was at Truman State. I played him 3 times and they beat us twice. And he told me he's never playing me again. He said he's 2-1 and he'll always be 2-1 on me. So he'll never play me again is what he said. They're fun games. They get a little nerve wracking. You're friends with them and you're close to them. But you get competitive in the game, but it's, there's some fun games to play. It's kind of nice. You usually get together with them the night before and hang out and get to see them too. We played, at Truman now is Jeff Horner, who's doing a great job there. And we played them this year. They came to our place and we played them too. So it was fun getting that competitiveness back with him as well.
Well, the 2005-2006 team of UNI, which consisted of, let's say, players like you, Ben Jacobson, Stout, Coleman, John Little, Eric Crawford, a bunch of good players, put them up against the 2014-15 team of like Tuttle, Washpun, Bust, Deion Mitchell, Jeremy Morgan, Bohannon. Best of 7, who's going to win?
I think you're going to get me in trouble asking questions like that. Crawford and I actually talked about this, and he to this day says we would beat him for sure. And he was on both part of those groups. So it'd be a good game. I mean, those would be some fun games to play. Both teams were so talented and the styles were a lot different. So it would kind of be interesting to see whose style would pan out in the end of that thing. But I mean, I was a part of the one, so we got to say that for sure.
Okay. You went. I was wondering if you were going to go with the safe answer there, but you made a call. Maybe what we could do is in a couple of years we can get we could have the AARP tournament or something and get all you guys back and see what this game 7 would look like. So
you're gonna give us 2 years to get in shape for the thing.
Yeah.
So, hey, any final words to Panther fans before we let you go?
Hey, we're always Panthers through and through, man. We're rooting for them right now. We're looking forward to them getting going. They've got a good team this year, and it's fun to watch them. It always is. They do a great job there. That staff is unbelievable, and they continue to do a great job. And you know, we've tried to model our program after what I learned there and what they do. We build from Iowa and see what we can do.
Hey, Brooks, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time, and go Peacocks.
Yeah, go Peacocks. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brooks.
As everyone knows, Randy and I have a big heart for the community nonprofits in the Cedar Valley. It's time for the Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week. Today, we have Heidi Fuchtman here from the Youth Art Team. Thanks for joining us today, Heidi.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me.
So maybe you could tell us, what does the Youth Art Team do?
Okay, well, the Youth Art Team brings together students from a variety of life situations to complete exceptional works of art through a process that values student voices in decision making. So the mission is really to encourage youth to develop their creative potential, empowering both personal and social change through lifelong intentional relationships and art. So there's a good chance if you haven't heard of Youth Art Team before, there's a good chance that you would actually recognize some of their work. And so, okay. The Love is Power mural is the first mural that Youth Art Team ever did, not the first project, but it's the first mural outdoors. The second mural was the 2-story peacock mural, where the youngest artist on the project was in kindergarten and the oldest was a senior. We made colorful wooden butterflies that migrated around the Cedar Valley and were later invited to Des Moines with the artist as featured artists at the Iowa Art Summit.
Now, Heidi, real quick, if I could just mention is it's more of a question than mentioning something, but when I've asked about these projects before, like the mural that you had, the Love is Power, especially the peacock where it's so high up there, I asked, oh, the adults must have helped with a bunch of things here and there. And I was told that no, the adults really stay out of it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. We feel like it's important to give artists real ownership in the work that they're doing and for the ideas to be their own and for them to be able to look back at a piece and say, I did that, not like, oh yeah, well, the adults really did that. It's really the artists. So I feel like the challenge for me is to find ways for them to do the things that they would like to take on. Yeah, that's a good point.
It seems like part of your mission, like you just said, which is really cool, is to empower the kids, decision making, all of that stuff. Then they have that opportunity to say, you know, how am I going to get that paintbrush up there 20 feet, paint that pink,
right? We have nice long poles that work really great for them. We learn all kinds of tricks. But yeah, I think that it also, you know, gives them real ownership in the community. So not just of their work, but it really connects them to their place, to their home, you know. So
well, I know we interrupted you with this great slideshow, so keep going.
No, it's great. Our largest piece is our Freedom Story mural, which is a 3,000 square foot mural at the Waterloo Center for the Arts. And it commemorates Waterloo's civil rights history in a way that also asks questions that are connected to today. And then we just completed this fall the final stretch of murals for the 4th Street Bridge in Waterloo. So now we have 1,300 feet of murals going along this bridge on both sides. And we're planning a public party in the spring, a big party. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, one thing I want to make sure I always say about youth art team is that the youth art team are actual teams of artists. So you can think of it sort of as a traveling, soccer team or a sports team where the artists work together seasonally over a period of many years. So one example are two artists named Emma and Janaea, who were on the team when we first started it in 2010 as kindergartners. And today they are seniors in high school getting ready to graduate.
Oh, wow.
They were interviewed this summer by Iowa PBS. And it really shows the ownership that the artists take on of the team over time. They're building trust between us and the families and the artists with each other. And so the level, like the depth of leadership development that we're able to achieve this way has really been remarkable to be a part of.
Yeah, well, let's say and I know Randy had a question, but I'm going to butt in and ask something real quick. Let's say 15 years ago, you wake up one morning and you say, you know what this community needs? An art team. Like, how did this all come about? Like, what brought on this idea?
There were people kind of getting to know some kids and they were noticing, kids are so creative. I don't think that I fully understood that until I had kids of my own, and you just see like how they draw a sidewalk. It's so different than you would draw a sidewalk as an adult. And there's something really intriguing and beautiful about a child's perspective on the world that I think as we get older, we forget. So I was an athlete. I played softball and was on my school's very first girls soccer team. And so I understood, I think, the value of team and how important it is, to have everybody playing their positions, the trust you have for each other and the forgiveness when you make mistakes and you push through those. And then I was also in marching band in high school, which was really awesome. You could hear everybody playing their different instruments and their different parts out there on the field. And you knew like, that's Andy playing a solo, because that's actually where I met my husband, was marching band in high school. But, we were creating something beautiful together. So those are two things where, we were doing something that was really hard. It required a lot of us, but we were doing it together and we were creating something together and, creating something excellent. And so that's what I hope the artists experience through youth art team. And that's what I hope the adult volunteers and the donors and everyone who interacts with youth art team will feel, that you are a really important part of something, and that something is greater than yourself.
Well, two-part question for you. Randy is probably going to kill me because I keep butting in with what you just said. But you just got me curious now. So everyone in town also knows Andy as well, your husband. And so everyone knows him as the cool, suave guitar player in town. What did he play in marching band?
He played the trumpet. He was really good.
How about that? Did you know that, Randy?
Trumpet.
I've actually heard Andy play the trumpet once or twice, so I knew he was pretty good at it, but I did not know that was his original instrument.
I didn't know that either. And so here's the second part of that question is that at least before COVID, Andy would always put together this like sidecar coffee marching band or something. Did he ever talk you into coming out of retirement and playing in the marching band?
Yeah, he's tried. And now that our kids are all old enough to actually be in the sidecar marching band, I might pull out my instrument.
Awesome.
We'll see. Maybe you'll see me out there marching.
We talked to obviously driving the lane. We talked mostly about basketball, right? But the different perspective that you just gave us on the art and the working with kids and building their self-esteem, building them as individuals for future leaders, right? There's so many different ways as a parent or as a grandparent that we need to look at how we can do that. And Heidi, you just gave us a great piece there about, how to do that with young kids who are becoming leaders of tomorrow. And that's cool.
Oh, thank you.
Congrats. That's cool.
Thanks. Really cool to
I'm impressed, Chuck. That's all. I'm just sitting here in awe, kind of, actually.
Oh, well, when we find guests on this show, we only find the best of the best. So
we got that.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, how could people learn more about Youth Art Team?
Yeah, so we love for as many people as possible to know about Youth Art Team's story and to be a part of it. So Youth Art Team is on Facebook. You'll find right at the beginning there that PBS video that does a really good job of telling the story, and you can hear from the actual artists instead of just me. They're much more fun and really inspiring. So check that out. And then we have a website, youthartteam.com, where you can learn more about the projects. And if you're interested in getting connected as a volunteer or a mentor, you can find our contact information or email us at contact@youthartteam.com. You'll find there also our shop. We published a book in 2020 that is available for purchase in our online shop. And then 24 artists completed artist training camp this summer, and they are selling their own original artwork online in our shop. So the artists receive 75% of what they sell, and Youth Art Team receives 25% in order to get more art materials back into their hands to make more art. And then, it costs money to run a team of any kind. And so we're scrappy, but it takes some money. So you can also find ways that work for you to support the team financially.
Wow, I'm telling you what, Chuck, Heidi raised the bar of our program right here with that slideshow and everything else.
Well, it's art, you got to see it.
You do. That is very true. And we appreciate you doing that. Heidi, thanks for joining us. And you've set a new standard for driving the lane.
This leads us to the part of the show that everyone's been waiting for, the Financial Architect's Quote of the Week.
Quote of the week from Financial Architects. Train your mind to see the good in everything. Positivity is a choice. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts.
Powerful stuff. Why did you pick that quote for today?
It's just around the season when families are getting together, people need to stay positive and be forgiving and just have positive thoughts about what's going on in the world and in your family.
Love it. Love it. So you should, one of these days on your bucket list, you should write like Yogi Berra has a book full of quotes. There should be like this Randyisms book of quotes somewhere that you should write.
Most of them you borrow from people, right? That you find. It's not like originals, but
oh, you didn't come up with that quote. Maybe you did.
Maybe not.
Well, regardless, it's good for you, good for me, good for everybody. It's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next week. Enter the closing music.